Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Fireside Chat for Microsoft Power Platform. It's release wave 2 for 2022. With me today is Ollie Sinclair. Hi, Ollie. How you doing?
Hi, yeah, very good, very good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm okay. The summer holiday. I'm fresh from holidays. It's now close to September, the day we're filming this. So it's just the weather's turning, isn't it? And we've just got to
Y-
crank up that fire soon. I think now that we've had the heat wave.
It is, yeah, absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
good.
Okay, so we have got the early access at the moment of Power Platform Wave 2. What's the overall message that you're getting from Microsoft at the moment, do you think, from what they're saying?
Yeah, yes, a good question. So, I mean, it's a funny one because we're now into the latter part or the fall part of 2022. So it's an interesting time to sort of reflect on the past couple of years. Microsoft have really worked, on the 2020 2021 was really around remote working and collaboration in I guess a new norm, which was the height of COVID, and that was absolutely everyone's motivation. And Microsoft delivered some really great releases specifically for the Power Platform around those. But what we kind of see now is a bit of a shift, and it's really a shift to to connectivity in applications. So I guess what we've seen from our customers and from what Microsoft are saying is that businesses have had to quickly adopt to potentially off-the-shelf products or releasing applications for an absolute need, a new need that they didn't have but urgently needed to resolve. Um, and it's kind of gone to a bit of an unmanaged, ungoverned sort of sprawl of potential, low code, no code applications. And what we've seen now is that resources for digital transformation have become way more constrained because of this big footprint in the business with applications, and that's really where Microsoft are trying to come in with Power Platform, and it's really trying to aim to bring a bit of more visibility and control across the organization while still trying to accelerate that transformation that the customers are after, and that's really quite evident in some of the new releases coming out at the moment, and for this wave release. So bit of a change in direction and focus from Microsoft. Absolutely still keeping on collaboration. I think that's absolutely important. But we're now into post COVID, and what does that mean for businesses that are on that transformation journey and have adopted those low code elements? And what can Microsoft do with these new features to allow us to keep working at speed?
So a bit more controlled innovation then. So we still want to support our citizen developers, but making sure that's done in a little bit more of a controlled environment.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know today you've got sort of three big takeaways from the release. Would you describe this as a big release for the second half of the calendar year, or is it a few tweaks?
I would say this is quite a big one actually. There's a lot of they've really done a lot of work in some key areas that potentially some of the customers were maybe slightly shy to adopting, or the route to get in there in terms of a low code no code um, element was probably a little bit hard. So I'm thinking about Power Platform, and I'm thinking about the Power Portals. So it's now relabeled Power Pages. It's got a fantastic new UI, and then in this October release, unfortunately, we can't show you a demo yet, but it will be there within in October. That they've got a new UI, and they've got a far more sort of WYSIWYG, as they call it. What you see is what you get, drag and drop sort of way of designing pages. So again, back in the olden days when we were ADX Studio and then into Power Portals, it was still a little bit confusing to get up and running with portals. It's becoming a much easier now, and there you can see that shift going in there, and some other areas as well, in terms of reporting. That around that connectivity on applications, and the whole idea is that once you've got all your apps connected, well, the data is going to be fantastic. We can do loads of really cool reporting on it. So yeah, I think it's quite a big release.
Fab, fab. Okay, well, without further ado, then let's crack on. I think you wanted to talk about reporting today. You see that as a major piece of this release.
Yeah, I absolutely do. So before I get into a bit of a demo on the reporting side, I thought I'd just show you one of the websites, which is really, really useful, that I use to try and compartmentalize all of these releases, when they're happening, how's it going to work, what's it affecting. And this is the release planner from Microsoft. So we'll put a link in the YouTube video. But rather than just sort of reading through hundreds of pages on the Microsoft website, this kind of gives it in either in date order or by functionality order, um, all of the updates that not only are planned and coming soon, but the ones that you actually have access to now in your environments if you're updating. And this for me just allows us to then understand every month what's happening, what's going to be released, where are they in the process, and it just is that little bit clearer, so that you can keep on top of these wave releases.
Mm,
The funny thing about Microsoft Wave releases is we technically have the 2 a year, but that's kind of a description of what's going to happen for the next 6 months. So
mm,
then when these releases come in, as you can see, pretty much every single month, there are new things coming on board that people can start to use and start to
mm,
and need to be aware of. What you can also do is click on and have a my release plans. So the ones specifically that you're interested in, or you want to delve into more, and remove all of the things that might not be as focused to your area. You might not install Power Virtual Agents, so anything around virtual agents, we don't need to know that yet. So we can take those off. What I've done is just very quickly had a look at my release plans and some of the things I wanted to talk through today. You're absolutely right. One of them is around the quick Power BI quick reports within Power Apps. This is something that's really been released in July, and it's kind of a long time coming. It's been on the roadmap for quite some time, and I'm really excited about this feature. I think this is going to be absolutely brilliant. So I'll set the scene in terms of reporting. So when you are in Power Apps, specifically model-driven apps, most of the time you have the advanced find, which, on a side note, if you watch my colleague's video, he'll be talking around the new advanced find functionality, and the fact that that's now switched on by default. So you don't really have a choice. You've got to use the new functionality, and it's really, really useful. But in terms of representing data, you really have views and you have dashboards. Now, they are really powerful, very, very useful, can work in conjunction with your applications, and with querying data and things like that. But they really are more kind of like a view is very much like an Excel spreadsheet, that shows you data. That's brilliant. And dashboards are useful, but can be quite restricted. It also will take time for maybe an administrator to come in, or for you to learn how to do the dashboards and create them. And they are limited in terms of the functionality and features they have. Anybody really that's looking to glean some really useful information from their data, surprise, surprise, they would use the component of the Power Platform called Power BI. Now, Power BI, really powerful, brilliant functionality. You really can do quite a lot with Power BI. What's the downside? Well, the downside is, for a citizen developer, that's a lot of effort to learn maybe some of the nuances around setting up a Power BI report, being able to connect to your data, and be able to be responsive in terms of very quickly trying to pull together or piece together a report. Hence why a lot of people will export to Excel, and smash out a dashboard within Excel. The
Mm.
problem with that is obviously you're removing the data from Dynamics. Yes, you can do things with static lists, but effectively you're kind of going into a different area. The utopian answer would be, well, why can't I have the power of Power BI within my dashboard? If I select a view of the data I need to report on, why can't I just build it very, very quickly? Aha, Microsoft have come along and done exactly that. So what I'm showing you here is a list of active applications. This is in a housing accelerator that we offer for housing association and local LRGs, local regional governments.
So
Um,
so we're in a Power App here, are we? Is that
we are in a yes, we're in a
oh,
Power App and we're in a view. So this is a view of all of my active applications where people apply for homes or
mm,
apply for certain elements. So what I want to do is visualize this in a dashboard and give me some insights straight away. So all you have to do is click on the visualize this view, and what happens is behind the scenes, Power BI will consume all of that data that's exists in that view, and using some AI and ML technologies, it will suggest to you a set of reports that might be quite useful. And it all depends on the data you're supplying within the view, which is again quite interesting. So if I push this up now, you'll see that it does take a little while for the first time to sort of generate report because it's consuming all of that data. Um, but very quickly it will give you a report back, or Microsoft's view of of your information, of your data. So very quickly you can see, okay, so they've summarized this by status reason and by count of different things. What I can do is change this and say, okay, well, actually, I'd rather have a a view, and rather than a bar chart, I would want to use a pie chart, for example.
this feels very much like I mean I use Excel, pivot tables, all this. This feels like just a pivot table and manipulating data that way. So this would feel quite familiar to a lot of people, I'd imagine. This is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And the really useful thing is that you can start playing around with the data. And as you say, look, look, Power BI, show me more data. If I select these fields, it's going to add some more information in. It does, counts of applications, counts of units. It shows you some really useful information. Now, the problem might be that, okay, this is great. I want to see this information, but I also want to show the data that's represented behind that. So if you click on things like show data table, you can have these views and you say, okay, well, I just want to know, my counts of application, but I just want to know the new ones. So what's going on with these new ones? Well, okay, so actually I've got some information around here that I can actually see, and you can start filtering your data this way.
Hmm.
So again, from an insights perspective, you don't have to wait for somebody to build up your a big report, and for it to be published and then shared with a load of people, and before you know it, you've got a structured report that might not be as intuitive as you need it to have a look at your data. The really cool thing is, in combined with that visualize this view, because it's looking at this application, if you edit the columns and I add a couple of columns, say for example application type, or if I did um, tenant refusal reason, and a couple of other things. If I apply this to the filter, yes, I'm still on my active applications, but I've added a couple of columns into my view, and immediately I can use this in a new Power BI. So if you're thinking about, really, okay, first time round, yeah, it was a lot around the statuses because that's really the only thing that I was categorizing those applications on my view. Okay, well, I've added a few different things now in terms of application type. Let's see what Power BI does. It probably will still show me a lot of stuff around statuses. But what you can also do is then have those, I've got the application stage or the refusal reasons. I can start doing other reports in that as well. So again, from a use case perspective, I can really see a lot of people, salespeople using this, customer service people using this, and saying, okay, well, let's give me a breakdown of my cases, or let's give me a breakdown of my opportunities, by region, by area, by anything like that. So if I did this, changed it again to a bar chart, you can see now, but my count of units by application type, I've got some information there. Again, from an AI perspective, you can see that direct applications has a higher sum of owner types, by 166%. So again, the AI element of Power BI is automatically coming through. And
Is
now
that
the more sensible,
that's
yeah,
providing insight. That
yes.
that's the AI has just created that.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah. So
that's
direct
awesome.
applications had a higher sum of ownership, followed by choice-based letting, and then nominations, and then direct applications accounted for 47% of the sum of ownerships. So you can see very, very quickly that people can be like, oh, okay, well that's really interesting. Is that right? Can I do something with that data? Yeah, just a wonderful, wonderful feature. As I said, a long time coming, but absolutely loved it. Loved it. I thought it was really good.
I mean, and just to add, I mean, this is based on the app that we already have for our housing clients that we sell. We haven't created some slick demo environment that works perfectly for this new feature. You've just plugged this in and bang.
Yeah, yeah, that's literally the demo data I use for demoing a housing association and creating applications to create tenancies. I just thought, well, I know I've got a boatload of applications. Let's have a look, see
See
what
what it
that
does.
looks like in Power BI. So yeah,
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah.
That's right. Okay. Great stuff. Love it. Okay. What else have we got then?
So yeah, so that's like, that's the major reporting one. It's absolutely fantastic. They are working really heavily on UI as well. They're forever trying to make it easier for us to sort of um, work within the one window or work within the one area of the workspace. And depending upon what you want to be doing within a Canvas app or a model driven app, Microsoft are really giving us the choice. um, but with this release, they have done a lot in terms of the UI. And again, the form UX improvements, they've done a lot around the UX improvements, and around some of that data. One of them is kind of new, but not really new. So there's a concept called, or a component called the form component control. So within Dynamics, and within a specific form, you have the ability to add controls or custom controls. And before this wave release, you would be able to show like a quick view of a different sub record. So if you were looking for example, on an application record, you wanted to see for some of the elements around the unit or the property, you can see that we've actually pulled in the address information from that unit. The downside is it is read only, so you wouldn't be able to, with the quick views, which have been around for a while, you won't be able to edit that information directly on the form. What you can do now is called a form component control. It used to be there, but you used to have to go into the legacy way of editing a form to grab the custom control and try and work with it. They've actually put those components and have those available for you to be able to actually add within your screen, within the new UI. And again, those form component control means that you not only would you be on an application, be able to run through this business process flow, but you could have an area of this form dedicated to a sub entity like a property, and that would then be able to maybe edit a process flow around the voids process while an application is running through. And rather than jumping from screen to screen, you actually would be updating both entities at the same time. But
Mm,
the key thing, which I've seen a couple of images for, is that you would be able to use the process flow on that sub entity as well. So you've got that top level application to tenancy, but you'd also on the same screen be able to process some of the elements around a property as well. That's just two scenarios of entities. It could be any entity that you can play with there. So that for me is again another game changer. It gets us closer to really focusing on the relevant information on the screen at the right time for these guys to start processing and doing their job in the most efficient way.
So we're expecting that shortly. And just to be clear, that we haven't got that feature to show people today, hence why we're not able to demo that on this screen at the moment. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Coming soon.
Coming soon. Coming soon. Well, I would imagine that's going to be very helpful with people that are managing complicated processes and helping them to avoid that sort of moving between screens or forms. So, okay, probably a more subtle update really there, but actually quite powerful in terms of time saving, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fab. So I think we said there were going to be three biggies today. So what's the other one then that you want to reveal, Ollie?
Yeah, sure. So this one, this comes back to what we were saying right at the beginning, where where's Microsoft focus now, and they've seen a huge uptake in Power Apps in the low code no code platform, but because of that, they're conscious that they need to offer the IT team or the people that are managing the estate the ability to sort of control this and govern this in the right way. Now, there has been for a long, long time something called the Power Platform Center of Excellence Starter Kit, and I'll talk on that a little bit later on. But really, what we've seen in the marketplace and what Microsoft are saying is that customers and partners have been asking for an easier way to manage and control and understand what's going on within a specific Power Platform environment. So what they've released is a new concept called Manage Environments. Now this is a really cool little feature at the moment, but I think this has got legs. I think this is only the beginning of the managed environment element of the Power Platform. So lots of things I'm expecting to see in the latter wave releases. 2023, both of those wave releases, I would expect to see a lot of features and functionalities coming out for managed environments, and they're effectively when the three questions or the three issues that people that are managing and governing Power Platform environments have is what's actually in the environment, what's in it, how is it being used, and what's not being used, what is being used, and what are the rates. The second question is, I want an easier way of locking down security and understanding security in the area. And then the third one is, okay, Power Platform is brilliant. We can connect to a bazillion things using Power Platform connectors, but can I, have specific policies around connecting data and consuming data and sending data through what's known as data loss DLPs, data loss prevention policies, and is there a way of managing that per environment? Well, Microsoft come and said, okay, well, those are the three burning questions. Let's get that out in the first iteration of what's known as a managed environment. So as you can see on the screen, I'm in the Power Platform Admin Center, and I've got all of my environments that I have for this tenant. And now, if I wanted to, I can look at that. You can click up here and learn about managed environments. But if you wanted to create a managed environment, so if you click on the environment, you'll see you click Enable Managed Environments Preview. And what that does, I'll do one that I've done earlier, is it will give you three things. It gives you a weekly digest of all of the things that are going on with this environment. So it's split into three, and it really is, what is in the environment. So the list of applications, flows, and components of that data, and then it says what is not being used and what's being used quite a bit. And it comes in as a subscription newsletter so that you can understand what's happening with those resources. And obviously, the admins get an email, but you can add different people into this email and you can get that digest. It becomes really, really powerful when you've got loads and loads of environments that you're trying to manage. You're just trying to get an update about where they are and what's happening. What we can also do is locking down the specific environments, so that you guys can the IT people can make sure that they're not going over their subscription for Power Apps licenses, Flow licenses, etc. And what you can do is, um, you you have two options. The first one is you can exclude sharing with security groups. If you have exclude sharing with security groups, you can then limit the total number of users that have access to that environment. Obviously, if you're using security groups, it's very, very difficult because obviously Azure AD, if you're adding and removing people from security groups within AD, well then that's where that's managed rather than limited the sharing for the environment. So if you wanted to limit the sharing and this was a small element, you didn't want this to explode with loads and loads of people using the applications and therefore consuming the licenses and consumption model, then you click on exclude the sharing, and then you can actually then limit the total number of people that are going to use that environment, and therefore you're in that much more control. And then looking at the DLPs, the data policies that you've got, data loss prevention policies, you actually then click on that, and then you can see active data loss prevention policies for that specific environment, rather than just navigating to the DLP area and then trying to work out which policies apply to which environment. This will just very quickly show you that area in its specifics. So some really, really good things that's coming out of Microsoft. They're listening, they're understanding, and they're totally seeing that these things do need a bit of management, a bit of governance to make sure that we're still on top of things.
Okay, okay. So that's what it is, but it doesn't go all the way in terms of management, does it? So what else
No,
should we be thinking about then?
yeah, it's a really good point. It is a starting point, and it really doesn't do absolutely everything. There's
Mm,
only three features there of managed environments. Now, anybody that's really managing Power Platform environments in anger will understand that there's absolutely loads more that you would need to manage, govern, and do those policies. And that's really where I was sort of talking earlier around the Power Platform Center of Excellence Starter Kit. Now, the Starter Kit is a big suite of Power Apps and flows, and actually a bit of SharePoint, that is in a solution that you can install on your tenant as a new environment, or actually within Teams as a Teams environment, a Teams Dataverse for Teams environment, that allows you to manage and control a lot more in terms of orphaning off applications that aren't being used, auditing how much the flows and consumption of flows has been done. There's lots and lots of things that are prevalent in the COE Center of Excellence Starter Kit, which we actually have some services that we offer in terms of setting this up for you. We do a quick install, so we set up the starter kit, get it running for you, but we also offer more of a consultative approach as well, and work with you to set up your center of excellence in the best way. So yes, this is absolutely a starting point for Microsoft, but our recommendation from Crimson perspective is that there's lots of other things that you will need to think about, and Center of Excellence Starter Kit is one of those tools that Microsoft offer, with conjunction with some consultancy from us to get you guys set up working with the Power Platform and your environments in the best way.
fab. And if anybody's interested in learning a bit more about that, we collectively we describe that as Crimson Paragon, don't we? It's a set of services that related to uh, helping clients become self-sufficient effectively. I think it'd be fair to say, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, fabulous. Okay, Ollie. Well, so we've covered Power BI. We've looked at the controls for forms and then manage environments. So, um, there's a lot going on there, and it sounds like there's going to be some more over the next few months. But if anybody does need to speak to us, if you're already customers, you can speak to our account managers. If you're not currently a customer, I don't understand why. But you know, I don't know what's going on there. But you need to speak to us, and we can certainly put you in contact with Ollie and the rest of the team to explain and support you with Power Platform and also much more of the Microsoft platform as well. So I think with that, Ollie, we're done for today, aren't we?
Yeah, think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll throw another log on the fire and I'll crack open the whiskey.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Fabulous. Okay, well, enjoy the rest of your day, Ollie, and speak soon.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.